I didn't pay myself until I think it was like 5 years in. We went to a show and we sold $16,000. I thought I made it until January hit and there was nobody buying Christmas presents anymore. That's when I realized that I needed to focus my business in wedding bouquet preservation. I had to hire more people. What I did is I hired my first full-time employee. I was responsible of somebody's yearly salary. I knew that I just had so much responsibility. I've talked to a lot of people that don't have an accountant, don't have QuickBooks or anything, and they just have a spreadsheet and they don't understand where the money's going. Understanding your net profit, that is crucial. Our artists literally trained for over 2,000 hours to be able to start working on their own pieces. A lot of people believe that they have to be in control of every single part of their company. When they realize that they can delegate and hire some help on things that they're not good at, they can grow so much more.
Behind every beautiful wedding is a story worth preserving. Hi, I'm your host, Andrea, founder of the nation's premier bouquet preservation studio. Through building that company, I've had a front row seat to thousands of weddings and the incredible professionals behind them. On Bridal Club, I bring you conversations with the experts shaping today's weddings. It's for couples planning their perfect day and the pros who make it happen. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club.
Welcome back to another episode of Bridal Club. I am just so happy that you're here. If you're new, welcome to the club. If you've been here before, I just want to say welcome back and thank you for listening. It really does mean a lot to me that you're coming back to listen to other episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and follow so you don't miss, and then also because it really helps our analytics. Today, I'm doing a solo show, as you can probably tell, and I'm going to talk to you about basically going from a solo artist to a CEO and the reality about scaling a business. The reason why I wanted to do this show today is because I've talked to a lot of wedding vendors in this industry, especially here in Dallas, and again, there's absolutely nothing wrong about being a solopreneur, but I know they want to grow and they're hitting the wall because they're struggling a little bit on what to do next. I want to guide you through how I scale my business and hire people right away after quitting my job. So let's go back to 2016. That's when I started pressing flowers. Right after I finished a couple of my pieces, I put them on Facebook and Instagram and I started selling. Now, I created my website possibly about a month after that. After that, it was basically like a huge revenue on the side. And I was just very happy because aside of having my corporate job, I was, again, making extra money on the side. And it was wonderful, especially because I loved what I was doing. I've always had a passion for artistry and paintings and just doing things with my hands. And the fact that people were paying me for that was just absolutely unbelievable. So I continued to sell, and I was basically working nights and weekends. 2.5 years later, the only reason why I couldn't continue to scale my business, which again started as a hobby, was because I didn't have more time. Again, I was working 9 to 6 at a corporate job, and even the travel time from my home to the corporate office was 30 minutes. So again, it was like an hour just on the road. So I just didn't have more time. That is when I realized, well, first I need to quit my job if I want to truly invest in scaling my business. After I quit my job, I was doing markets on the weekends, and I've said this before in other episodes, but basically I realized that I could not do 2 shows at the same time, obviously. And I was doing all kinds of shows across the DFW until I signed up for 2 big shows. It was a Pinterest show and a boho market, which is where I started. It was on the exact same day at the exact same time. And I honestly just signed up for both. This is about a month after quitting my job. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just sign up and figure it out. I realized quickly that if I hired basically a contractor that would help me be at the other space, selling exactly what I was selling, like my art and prints and stickers, I could literally double my revenue. And I did. And it was awesome. Again, just a month after quitting my business, I was able to hire on and double the revenue on the same market days. That was honestly like mind-boggling for me because I realized how much more I could scale if I had more help. Now, I will say that hiring on is pretty scary, especially when it's a full-time employee because of many reasons. Obviously, the finances being one of them. But if you are able to scale strategically, knowing exactly what you're not good at or what you can delegate is pretty much the easiest way to scale. During this time, it was summer, by the way, I didn't want to hire more people outside of the market days just because it was very difficult for me to delegate things that I knew I could do very well. And I kid you not, like even just putting prints inside of a cellophane bag, I could do it so much faster than someone else. That's what I believed, that I didn't want to delegate it. I had my system down and I just didn't want to pass it on until my husband was like, okay, why don't you hire people to help you do things that if they at least do 80% of the work how you're doing it, that's a good thing, because that means that that time that you're spending, putting prints in bags, you can do something else. Again, hiring more than just a few hours is kind of scary, especially if you don't necessarily have income. I quickly realized that if I hire people to do that, if I hire people to press flowers and I could continue to do the art, I was basically being able to spend so much time growing the business, making the art that I was going to sell, and truly concentrate on growing the business. It was just mesmerizing to learn. And again, I feel like the very first hire is the most difficult one, just because it's basically getting out of your comfort zone and being able to delegate and kind of like lose control over things that you came up with. It's hard, but it's so much worth it. Now, I know, for instance, photographers, what they do is they hire people as second shooters and perhaps people to do some editing. If you truly concentrate on really expanding your business and let go of the things that you are able to teach someone else, you're going to be at a space where you can truly grow your business so much more. During that summer, it was actually 2018, I was killing it. I mean, I was going to every single market that I could think of. I was doing workshops, like press flower workshops. I hire a team that can help me do the things that I didn't want to do, or that it didn't matter if I was the one doing them or not. And then we were killing it. I remember that in November, we went to a show and we sold $16,000 on art that I was making on prints that were basically copies from the original art and stickers and some other merchandise. I thought I made it until January hit and there was nobody buying Christmas presents anymore. That's when I realized that I need to focus my business in wedding bouquet preservation. Why? Because people are getting married year round. Of course, there's seasonalities, but again, this is something that I could basically control the demand by creating urgency on my type of product. When that happened, January hit, and I realized really quick that in order for me to do custom pieces, I had to hire more people. And what I did is I hired my first full-time employee. It was nerve-wracking because now I was responsible of somebody's entire yearly salary, and I knew that I just had so much responsibility. But honestly, I don't know about you, but I work really well under pressure, so game on. I knew that I had to scale in order for me to pay her, and then obviously for me to make money, enough money to continue to grow the business and eventually pay myself. By the way, if you're like me, I didn't pay myself until I think it was like 5 years in. I didn't actually have a salary. I didn't understand the reason why I could have a salary if I could just basically invest every single penny that I was making, until my CPA basically said, your salary is an expense and your business needs that expense. And ultimately, the reason why you're building a business is because you want to make money. To be 100% frank, my business grew a little too fast. I was doing a ton of marketing into expanding. It was a little rough because my revenue on Instagram, it was incredible. My ROI, I would spend $1, I would get 20. I would spend $2, I would get 40, 20x. And so I was just investing on those ads because it was a no-brainer. And I continued to hire and hire and hire. There was a time that I had literally 15 people come and go every single day at my home, whether it was like full-time employees or contractors, like helping get bouquets in, preserve them, even create the art and so on. And it was kind of crazy. We had folding chairs and folding tables every single day. We put them up. And then by the time that it would hit 6, everybody would have to put everything away to make sure whenever Justin would come home, it felt like a home. And we did that for almost too long, I feel like. But Justin mentioned, trust me, you're not ready. Just hold off. Don't look for a commercial space. It's a big responsibility. And I didn't understand it until, of course, it happened. So again, when I took over that last room, he's like, okay, this is time. And it was fair. The house didn't look like a house anymore. The house was like a complete studio from the first floor to the second floor. And I basically started looking for my first commercial space. It was amazing to go into a commercial space. However, I didn't fully understand the overhead of the space, because it's not only rent and property taxes and electricity bills that I didn't really have to pay for because they were at my house. Not fully grasping that was a lot, So I'm not saying this to scare you, by the way. I'm just saying this to prepare you for when you're ready to move out. And I know if you're in the wedding industry, I know a lot of you guys work from home, and that's perfectly fine. Whenever you have a business like mine, where we truly need the space to continue to operate, moving to a commercial space is crucial, to be honest. If you have a business, you probably have a lot of different options, whether you have a service or products, and it's super easy to not understand the cost of customizations and different offers. And really, again, putting something like that on a spreadsheet and understanding how much more is going to cost if you add one more offering is crucial. I didn't really understand this either. I'm very proud to offer the biggest array of products in the market for preservation and also the customization. So for instance, we have over 80 different products for resin pieces or resin preservation, and literally over 10 million ways to customize your pieces, like your press pieces and your floral blocks. And I didn't understand that the more I added offerings, the bigger the amount of investment it would be. Obviously, it's logical. However, let me just explain. So, for instance, in my office, I have invested over $100,000 in molds just to make sure that we are able to offer different types of shapes and sizes. Because typically, for every size and shape that we carry, we have 3 to 5 molds. So I can't just launch a new product and launch with one single mold, because a lot of people are probably going to ask for that mold, and I have to make sure that production is going to continue to move. So that is just to give you an example. So whenever you're adding things to your offering or your selection of products, make sure that you understand how much investment you need in that offering, and don't just add it just because it looks cool, just because that's something that you just want to add. Truly try to understand if it's really going to be profitable. If that one decision of you adding a new product or service is actually going to bring more money. A bigger revenue doesn't always mean that you have a healthy business. We as entrepreneurs are often chasing the top line, right? Like, I want to sell $100,000. I want to sell $1 million per year. I want to sell $2 million. And we're always trying to chase that without necessarily understanding the net profit. And the net profit or the net margin is going to be the most important metric on your P&L. Understanding that is going to honestly help your business, because ultimately you can continue to have all those sales and really do hit the 2 million or 3 million mark. However, if your overhead is super expensive and you have all kinds of different expenses and you're not making any money, is that really worth it? So really understanding what that basically equilibrium is going to really save your business. I know this is hard to understand if you're not business savvy, or even like me. I went to school for business and I still had to take a course on accounting to really grasp and understand my P&L. Learning your numbers is so crucial. If you don't understand them, take a course. I swear to God, it's going to make everything so much easier for you to understand. It's going to help you guide your decisions based on your numbers, and you're just never going to regret it. I have talked to a lot of people that don't have an accountant, don't have QuickBooks or anything, and they just have a spreadsheet and they're missing numbers. They don't understand where their money's coming from, where the money's going. They don't understand why they are charging a lot, but they don't see the money in their bank account. So again, understanding your net profit, like at the very, very bottom, that is crucial. If you have a net profit, then you're going to be able to expand. Otherwise, let's just rethink all your numbers, because there's obviously a serious problem. Another thing to keep in mind when you are expanding, and again, I'm not saying this to scare you, because you can't do it all, right? Like, as a business owner, if you're doing it all, you're really not scaling, but it's training. You have to understand how delicate training is for your business to operate at the quality that you expect to. So for instance, my artists here, when I hire someone, first of all, the hiring process is lengthy. Really take a lot of time interviewing people on the phone first, in person later. They have to meet the team. They have to make assessments. I want to understand their personality and other skills before I hire on. For my artists, for instance, because it's such a delicate product and I really do require excellence, our artists literally train for over 2,000 hours for them to be able to start working on their own pieces. That's a lot of time. That's from 3 to 6 months for them to be able to be quick and for their quality to be at our standard. Before you scale, you truly have to think about your business as a whole. Do you have SOPs? Do you have automations? Do you have a CRM system? All of this is super crucial, because I have seen a ton of businesses go viral on social media. They're doing a beautiful job, but then they go viral, like skyrocket millions of views on a few reels, and all of a sudden all the business starts coming in. But they don't have control, they don't know how to control their clients, this business cycle and the type of interactions they have to have over the time of the sale. They're likely not gonna make it. And I know a lot of people who have scaled so fast that they had gone out of business because they don't know how to manage things. So again, having systems in place, like again, the CRM system, if you don't have this, whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team, please do yourself a favor and look for Honeybook, Dubsado, Salesforce if you're really big. There's a ton of different options in the market, but being able to track all the communications with your clients and have everything in one single space is so crucial for scalability. And even back to scaling so fast, I mean, we were literally doubling our sales year after year, and so was my husband. And we didn't understand that after COVID, things were just scaling up so fast. Everybody had free money. The weddings that didn't happen in 2020 got moved to 2021 and 2022. So I just continue to think that we were just going to continue to grow our business year after year the same way that we were growing it until things started stabilizing. And we bought this building thinking that it was going to continue to grow that way. And so making decisions like that, you have to make sure that you have money in the bank account and that money is not touched unless it's for an emergency, which is honestly something that my husband and I didn't necessarily do. So you have to be very careful on how you're scaling your business. If you want a mentorship session, you can find me on my website, andreacole.com, or at Instagram at real Andrea Cole. I have talked to a lot of people that believe that they have to be in control of every single part of their company. And when they realize that they can delegate and hire some help on things that they're not good at or they just don't like to do, they can grow so much more. If you are one of them, if you want to hit $100,000 as yearly revenue or $1 million, please contact me as I am super passionate about businesses and I really want to help you scale with systems.